Recording. Alright, we got an Allied Final game here from late October, and here the game does start correctly, is not bugged, so we're alright. This is the second attempt here with Argonaut.
Hey guys.
So
and I guess I'll be critiquing myself for access. We have myself as Germany, Goliath as Italy, Napoleon as Spain, and then we have the new player questionmark as UK, Sirpelican as France, Rav himself as Norway, and then Chris as Russia.
So, you know, everyone likes to make fun of Pelican, so we'll try not to. We're going to overjudge overall how the game is going. We don't want to be too harsh on the man. And question mark, new player to Allied Final, but for the amount of games he's played, is looking extremely well and is a very, very exciting new addition to Allied Final. So he was actually on comms with Chris and myself for this game. Arg, were you on comms with anybody here?
I was not.
Okay. Were you just like talking to Gunner or something on the side?
Yeah, actually Goliath might have been there, I'm not sure.
Okay. Pretty good France take here. You don't have not too many kills by the way of France. Looks like he's only going to get about 50 kills on this hold.
Yeah, I think he was trying to do a little Spain rush that failed.
I've done that before. It doesn't feel very good. Well, that's why Napoleon was laughing, I guess. And bunkers high from you, Arg, so don't see that too often. I realized here that I should have brought my troops down as Norway. I had about 2 groups of men, and I should have brought them down. You had the VCs here pretty quickly, able to coordinate with that top wall. Here, it's an unwinnable situation. It's a great setup here by yourself and Goliath, with bunkers high, BCs middle, and tanks on the bottom for a perfect kill zone.
Yeah, he really got a nice flank on that.
Yeah, so it's just really textbook. So, you know, I'm actually going to throw this up on the video of how you want to hold a big 200, like a 220 hit. This could be a little bit of how-to. And like you said, maybe France could have put up a little bit better hold, but you moved the BCs, everything on cue, moved them back right in time for when Russia just taken out the initial 4 bunkers, but wasn't able to go further as you had the BCs there. So good job on that. And as you see, myself, I was able to still have a good dozen and a half troops, but in looking at that hold, it wouldn't have mattered. Chris was actually talking to me a little bit. He was like kind of bummed. He's like, "Oh, you really need to send your troops down there, man." And I actually agreed with him. But looking at that, don't think it would have mattered. But I am getting together a drop here. Not the quickest, but do have a little 7 drop here right after the trigger. Spain as well is gathering drops. He's got 6 currently made. And
you had a little drop for France too when Russia was still attacking, so you were still harassing France a little bit. But I took it out with fire bats and musters. But also one thing too on that late attack, UK definitely needs to bring his air over and support the remaining BCs or whatnot. Even the tanks or allies, if they have Italy air and Germ air still, can definitely harass Russia on the way out. And he was not there to protect them.
Yeah, I think I remember. I did something new. Instead of taking the little island in the Atlantic, as Norway normally does as a first move, I went a single full drop to drop into Belgium. But I didn't know that Pelican had such a poor hold, or I wouldn't have done it. I got the drop out, I remember, but the actual drop was pretty ineffective.
Yeah, and for a lot of Germs, that's actually a rally point for SCVs. And you can see Chris is going bulks, and you have a drop going to Spain simultaneously.
So I see these, and I'm like, oh shit. And then I also see the drops, so maybe I shouldn't have even dropped there. But I was able to get a pretty good glut of men down. But because the Spanish drops are there as well, and the fire bats, it was really just a perfect storm. And it was a big counter, and I knew I was screwed at that point. Balks is being extremely well defended by yourself and Goliath here, building the 3 bunkers because of the high frequency Chris goes Balks on a second attack, and with the BCs there, there's really nothing that you can do as Russia when you go that way. So great hold, and really a good how-to for players just wanting to know the first 2 or 3 turns as Axis. Really, every player is playing optimally here, and I say that as I had already seen 2 failed drops from myself. So you know, I recognize good play. I don't always play well myself, but with Spain having the 6 drops loaded and being able to counter the Norway drop, Italy getting a great flank on the first eastern attack, and then predicting the next attack and correctly putting bunkers and SCVs to defend it, and then yourself, Argonaut, just great BC control, not losing too much in France, and those initial high bunkers are, when you play around them correctly as you did, extremely powerful, and I'm a big fan of those, though I don't do them all the time. Here we have UK going towards the core. They were able to get a single Messer. Let's see if they can get any more. They were able to pick up all 4 without losing too much. So a little bit of good mechanical play that we see from the new player questionmark, and I was happy I was able to capture that. Now rocking about 250 APM. So just watch, when he starts getting a little bit more familiar with the game, he's going to be a very, very scary player to contend with. Something like Hong was kind of in his prime, and how he was trying to break the meta, doing his early African attacks as Spain, going hard towards Middle East and Wells by the 3rd turn. So just exciting to have some new blood with potential. As opposed to seeing the same players as we so frequently do. And I'm sure it's the same within the die scene, where the players are really familiar with each other, and there's not too many players starting the game that is able to reach kind of the pinnacle, like in playing the top games, like the most highly skilled 6 players, as it was in this game. That game, 7 players is our game.
Definitely.
I guess I've been rambling on for a little bit. What are you seeing in this game? So,
well, I'm not sure what you've been watching, but I don't know if you saw it, but Pelican invested all of his money in the Dragoons and went Africa, and then I cleared Greece with my air, and then cut off his Dragoons, and then attacked Egypt a little bit and pulled out.
Actually, I missed that. There's other stuff going on, and I was kind of going on my rant. That's yes, and that's some pretty good early pressure from Pelican.
But I did lose a good amount of Messers. We'll give that to Pelican.
And that's what the Dragoons are good for, and that's why people are racing to edit this map to change the buy amount for Dragoons. I believe Bobo in his 3.2 proposal is putting them to 325. So going to be adding about a 75 cost, but then keeping the range, the contentious range, and keeping the same armor to shield ratio as is currently in the game. What I think everyone agrees, nobody disagrees about the Dragoon issue, right? Like everyone thinks that they're overpowered and something's got to be done.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the collective opinion.
But I think the simple option is just what Bobo's proposing, is just increase the cost. You keep everything the same, so it keeps the same gameplay feel, which some players are worried about. If you decrease the range, it makes them unplayable, like that Napoleon is saying, and Molo, but if you do, and also the shield armor ratio is also a good suggestion by Molo. But just a simple thing is just increasing the cost until you find a happy medium, and I think 325 is a good place to start. A lot of people are saying that's still too low. Where do you fall in that category?
There's a lot of things you could do. I'm not a really big fan of nerfing units, so I'd probably be in favor of just the price increase. But on the game right now, we're taking UK, but at the same time, Chris is pressuring East, and UK is doing a good job using his air, hitting Italy's ground and taking it out.
Absolutely. I actually was focusing on the East, and I didn't notice the UK. So good point out there. I was noticing this as Spain, but there wasn't a whole lot I could do.
Yeah, no, in this situation, you use your drop to defend UK, but at the same time, if you would have just let UK fall, I mean, I guess you could have dropped Italy's ground, but I would have pulled my BC sooner. I just kept them there because I saw your ground there. So, I mean, definitely things can play out just off little things like that.
And a great tank count still.
But you guys were still able to do decent damage to the ground on East, regardless of what your losses were.
We did, and in hindsight, it wasn't the right drop place. But I have money right now, and I knew I had enough to make another drop quickly. But in hindsight, should have waited. But here we have a big investment by the Axis in Africa, and Goliath going hard with the BCs down into the ground. Meanwhile, Napoleon is putting a 4-bunk down in Africa, which Pelican was able to get one, but not able to get the other. So great control here down in Africa by the Axis.
Yeah, Naples Wall's definitely given Pelican a lot of trouble.
And that's just something
can be demoralizing for a lot of France's not getting that tax and being kept down all game.
I know it affects me quite a bit. Not being like seeing like a big wall there, and then you're just thinking about the investment that you need. Like you're like, okay, well I have to attack it hard with tanks in the front. I've got to follow it with like 3 or 4 groups of Marines, and I have to drop on top of it. It's like, oh, do I do that or do I go Turkey? And you know.
And then Axis can sacrifice Italy BCs, and if they're not using them on the Eastern Front or whatnot, I mean, they're just leaving them in Africa. That sucks even more on top of a wall. And then even then, Messer support can come down.
But Pelican is not giving up, and this is what a lot of players like to see. This where you're just putting constant pressure. You're having the Axis have to come deal with you instead of going Norway, which is what you're doing right now, or being able to go to East, which is what I'm doing, as well as Chris. So here we have the drop, being able to break the bunk wall. Chris has got tanks in, flowing in troops. He's got a pretty solid attack, maybe about 125 unit count he was able to get through. Meanwhile, being able to take out the industry drop, spawn of Goliaths and men. Meanwhile, the Axis looked to be defending behind that bunker, which was targeted and taken out. The call sign was taken out, and looks like Chris wants to retreat. I'm keeping my tanks there just to keep a little bit of pressure, and it looks like Chris is going to be able to get most of his men out, but not everything. Little air battle here. This is kind of what I was wanting to see. Question mark. Just being outgunned here, and it's not a way of control or anything. You have the good BC and Messer count that no matter how he controls them, he's not going to be able to output as much damage. And I love seeing the Yamatos there, just on that last on that retreating RAF.
Yeah, sometimes when your BCs are spread out like that, if you click from the furthest RAF and start clicking backward towards your BCs, you can actually pick up about 5 or 6 if you do it right. But was not able to that time. And you can see right now he had an open chance actually to dive my BCs, and still does.
He looks at it, but there was an opportunity there. I was thinking that as well. Napoleon's just doing everything you need to do. He's doing everything right. Being able to secure USA and Canada pretty early. Well, USA at least. He hasn't gone Canada
and still holding Africa at the same time.
Yeah. Now, of course, he's getting help from the Italian BCs, which is the reason why he's being able to hold. So that's good teamwork. And there you can see even Goliath putting another bunker down in the bunker wall down there in Algiers. So also putting a good amount of pressure. 4 SCVs, so dropping SCVs down there. So big investment, good teamwork. This is a normal game, and this was you guys played this really well. I know you were we talked about this game a little bit afterwards, and you were kind of discounting your play, but everyone's playing really solid here.
This game actually came a lot closer than I thought it would, for how much air you guys have now and for what we have.
yeah, you guys were in pretty firm control there for most of this game. So I'm suspecting that you're going to start harassing me, so I'm keeping troops down, but maybe some would do a full retreat, but I'm at least going to try to load my bunkers, try to make you advancing as difficult as possible. So here I got to get my dropships out, so a little bit slow on that. Really slow on that. And you're pretty sure you saw those buildings there, but you decided to pull back because you saw Russia going. So probably a good move there. But you had a decision to make about what to do with your BCs, what to do and your air.
Yeah, I'm checking them out too. Some decently damaged ones.
We have Spain going ahead and dropping on Oslo. Like I said, I was loading bunkers, so I am fairly prepared for this attack, though I don't have a huge man count myself. And Napoleon is doing other things right now. He's not really microing his troops. He would normally play this a little bit better, but I'm able to hold Norway fairly well, despite what was dropped. But
yeah, those vultures are so strong against Marines when he has no heavy for support.
Yeah. And Napoleon's doing so much other stuff, and he's doing so much other things right. He's got so much money right now that really, that probably wasn't even a failure in his books. He was able to get to take some city tax away, and he's going to be able to refill those drops in no time.
Goliath was hitting in Russia. I think a little miscommunication from him and I, but took a pretty nasty hit.
And Chris with pretty good tank control here, doing as much damage as he can on the way out. Should be able to pick up this last tank or two. And Italian carriers, they are able to spawn unharassed, so you still get them, even though that the D-Day trigger hasn't been activated for the Allies. So for anyone new watching the game, you have to have a building by the city up in USA by the anytime after D-Day, and that's when you have the 6 BCs spawn over here by Scotland, and then you have the dropships go ahead and drop the Marines onto Normandy. But because Axis have control of that, and which makes why USA is so such a contentious fighting point, even though it's so far off of the map, and actually, you know, it's worth a decent amount of money, but it's not a capital city by any means. But meanwhile, as we're talking about the importance of USA, Axis with a great counterattack here, but look at these Dragoons. Look at this huge difference these Dragoons are. And even though Pelican wasn't able to do anything this game, though he did have some good early Africa pushes, look at the army he's able to amass. And this is late game France for you without being able to take anything. If the Allies had any sort of air here, this is a completely different story. So here there's a little bit of miscommunication, some saying back, some saying forward. And
yeah, and that Dragoon amount is without a turkey tax also.
Yeah. So it ended up not working, but
plenty of times.
You guys were not as strong. If there's a couple of things that would have happened, that attack might have been enough. But you guys really played everything well, and we were never able to get the UK back. I knew that it was bunked. I knew I saw the 2 bunkers. So I chose to go east. I don't think the game goes on too much longer than this, don't you?
It actually gets a lot closer than you'd think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this was a few nights
Still
ago.
trying to figure out how.
Gris is doing a fullback. I'm trying to put pressure on the flank. Thankfully, your whole armory doesn't turn on me, and I'm able to get a decent flank going. Got a lot of the ground from the back. Questionmark trying to micro like 2 or 3 Rav, but really not enough to do anything.
I don't know, maybe this game just felt closer for some reason. But again, should check Spain's text after this. He's had Canada, USA, Ireland, UK, Alge.
Well, let's see what an optimal Spain tax looks like. We'll be able to see, because we have all the cities in Algiers, and then Ireland, Canada, USA, all of UK, and we'll see what that looks like. While also taking the bottom city in France. I believe that's Bordeaux. So we've got 99 remaining. Okay, so Spain is going to do a big drop on, I think, Finland here. Let's see where he ends up going. Normally a pretty safe place to drop.
Yeah, except for that army of Russian tanks.
So he's going to do a mixed drop, it seems like, and have my trigger men there, a couple of vultures, and I believe the bunker north is loaded. Yeah, it is. So I was able to stuff the secondary drop, and then Russia was able to stop the first drop. So definitely not the best drops on Norway on how they're working out. That's 2 now for Napoleon. So I can see where the Moscow attack kind of stalled, and then a couple of missed Spanish drops. Why this game might be a little bit closer, and why you felt.
Right, yeah, I mean, just when you have no mess and your PCs are alone and you see like all those Russian tanks, you know? And it's Chris who
I think we could have played that a little bit more actually watching that. Well, so
either way.
You know, so we had a little bit of a different cast here. We kind of focused on the early access play, and then this is a new addition where the replay restarts. I didn't press anything.
Oh, that's weird. I actually clicked play.
Oh, you clicked play? So you're actually controlling it right now. That's kind of cool, eh? All right, no, you clicked it. Okay, so I'm not even hosting. Anyways, different cast, a little bit of conversation about the map, and I think that's gonna be about it. RavExel, Arganot, and Allied Final.
Thanks for having me, Rav.